Donald Trump represents a clear and present danger to that democracy. His lies about the election, encouraging his supporters to violently stop the peaceful transfer of power, make him unfit to be president. I'm proud to be here today, supporting a president who has been strong and unequivocal in his defending American democracy. A president whose leadership is exactly what we need in this moment. It is my honor to welcome to the stage the President of the United States, Joe Biden, and the First Lady of the United States, Dr. Jill Biden.
Let's get this over with.
This army that lacked blankets and food, clothes and shoes, this army whose march left bloody bare footprints in the snow, this ragtag army made up of ordinary people, their mission, George Washington declared, was nothing less than a sacred cause. That was the phrase he used, a sacred cause. Freedom, liberty, democracy, American democracy. Today we gather in a new year, some 246 years later, just one day before January 6th. A date forever shared in our memory because it was on that day that we nearly lost America. Lost it all. The choice is clear. Donald Trump's campaign is about him, not America, not you. Donald Trump's campaign is obsessed with the past, not the future. He's willing to sacrifice our democracy, put himself in power. 3 years ago tomorrow, we saw with our own eyes the violent mob storm the United States Capitol. It was almost in disbelief as you first turned on the television. For the first time in our history, insurrectionists had come to stop the peaceful transfer of power in America. First time. Jill and I attended the funeral of police officers who died as a result of the events of that day. Because of Donald Trump's lies, they died because these lies brought a mob to Washington.
One of the mysteries of the January 6th insurrection is solved tonight. The D.C. medical examiner today ruled that Capitol Hill police officer Brian Sicknick died of natural causes.
But Brian Sicknick should not be reduced to a prop for the political ambitions of the Democratic Party. He was a human being. The facts of his life matter, including how he died. To this day, media accounts describe Sicknick as someone who was, quote, slain on January 6th. The video we reviewed proves that is a lie. Here is surveillance footage of Sicknick walking in the Capitol after he was supposedly murdered by the mob outside. By all appearances, Sicknick is healthy and vigorous. He's wearing a helmet, so it's hard to imagine he was killed by a head injury. Whatever happened to Brian Sicknick was very obviously not the result of violence he suffered at the entrance to the Capitol. This tape overturns the single most powerful and politically useful lie that Democrats have told us about January 6th.
The entire nation watched in horror. The whole world watched in disbelief. And Trump did nothing. Imagine had he gone out and said, stop. And still, Trump did nothing.
I know your pain. I know you're hurt. We had an election that was stolen from us. It was a landslide election, and everyone knows it, especially the other side. But you have to go home now. We have to have peace. We have to have law and order. We have to respect our great people in law and order. We don't want anybody hurt. It's a very tough period of time. There's never been a time like this where such a thing happened, where they could take it away from all of us, from me, from you, from our country. This was a fraudulent election, but we can't play into the hands of these people. We have to have peace. So go home. We love you. You're very special. You've seen what happens. You see the way others are treated that are so bad and so evil. I know how you feel, but go home and go home in peace.
In Atlanta, Georgia, a brave black mother and her daughter, Ruby Freeman and Shay Moss, were doing their jobs as elected workers. until Donald Trump and his MAGA followers targeted and threatened them.
This table, the black one, was placed there by the lady with the blonde braids at about 8:22 a.m. in the morning. So she put that table there. So the same person who's staying behind now, the same person who cleared the place out under the pretense that we're going to stop counting, is the person who put the table there at 8:22 in the morning. Yeah, I saw 4 suitcases come out from underneath the table. Yeah, upper right hand, you see the gentleman in the red. So he just pulled one out. So what are these ballots doing there, separate from all the other ballots? And why are they only counting them whenever the place is cleared out with no witnesses?
But the legal path just took Trump back to the truth, that I'd won the election and he was a loser. And since that day, more than 1,200 people have been charged for their assault on the Capitol. Nearly 900 of them have been convicted or pled guilty. Collectively, to date, they have been sentenced to more than 840 years in prison. Trump is trying to steal history the same way he tried to steal the election. But we knew the truth. Political violence is never, ever acceptable in the United States political system. Never, never, never. It has no place in a democracy, none. You can't be pro-insurrectionist and pro-American. Trump's assault on democracy isn't just part of his past. It's what he's promising for the future. He's being straightforward. He's not hiding the ball. This is like something out of a fairy tale, a bad fairy tale. Trump began his 2024 campaign by glorifying the failed violent insurrection on our Capitol. He called in, I quote, the termination, quote, this is a quote, the termination of all the rules, regulations, and articles, even those found in the U.S. Constitution, should be terminated if it fits his will. This is coming from a president who called, when he visited cemeteries, called dead soldiers suckers and losers. Remember that? Sometimes I'm really happy the Irish in me can't be seen. American democracy had held together. And when Trump had seen weakness in our democracy and continued to talk about it, I saw strength. Now these MAGA voices who know the truth about Trump on January 6th have abandoned the truth and abandoned the democracy. Today, I make this sacred pledge to you: the defense, protection, and preservation of American democracy will remain, as it has been, the central cause of my presidency. As we begin this election year, we must be clear: democracy is on the ballot. Your freedom is on the ballot.
A historic decision. Colorado's Supreme Court has ruled Donald Trump ineligible for the White House.
2 voters from Hampton Roads are joining the effort to take former President Donald Trump off the ballot in 2024.
Now, California's lieutenant governor says she wants her state's elections office to do the same.
Maine has removed former President Donald Trump from the ballot for the Republican primary.
From those who traffic in lies, told for power and profit. For those who are driven by grievance and grift, consumed by conspiracy and victimhood. From those who seek to bury history and ban books. Do you ever think you'd be in a political event talking about book banning for the presidential election? The choice and contest between those forces, those competing forces, between solidarity and division, is perennial. But this time it's so different. You can't have a contest. You can't have a contest if you see politics as an all-out war instead of a peaceful way to resolve our differences. all-out war is what Trump wants.
Let's take two books that have been much discussed. The first one is called All Boys Aren't Blue, and I will quote from it. I put some lube on and got him on his knees, and I began to slide into him from behind. I pulled out of him and kissed him while he masturbated. He asked me to turn over while he slipped a condom on himself. This was my ass, and I was struggling to imagine someone inside me.
We're living in an era where a determined minority is doing everything in its power to try to destroy our democracy for their own agenda. Now in 2024, Trump is running as the denier-in-chief, the election denier-in-chief. Once again, he's saying he won't honor the results of the election if he loses. Trump says he doesn't understand. Well, he still doesn't understand the basic truth. That is, you can't love your country only when you win. You can't love your country only when you win. Together, we can keep proving that America is still a country that believes in decency, dignity, honesty, honor, truth.
For the first time tonight, President Biden is publicly acknowledging his 4-year-old granddaughter, Navy Joan, the child of his son, Hunter Biden.
I can't tell you how many world leaders, and I know all of them, virtually all of them, grab my arm in private and say, he can't win. Tell me. No, my country will be at risk. In the cold winter of 1777, George Washington and his American troops of Valley Forge waged a battle on behalf of a revolutionary idea that everyday people, like where I come from and the vast majority of you, not a king or a dictator, that everyday people can govern themselves without a king or a dictator. In fact, in the rotunda of the Capitol, there's a giant painting of General George Washington, not President Washington. And he is resigning his commission as Commander-in-Chief of the Continental Army. A European king at the time said, after he won the revolution, now's the time for him to declare his kingship. But instead, the mob that attacked the Capitol, waving Trump flags and Confederate flags, stormed right past that portrait. That image of George Washington gave them no pause, but it should have. We don't believe, none of you believe America's failing. We know America's winning. That's American patriotism. We all know who Donald Trump is. The question we have to answer is, who are we? That's what's at stake. Who are we? In the year ahead, as you talk to your family and friends, cast your ballots. The power is in your hands. After all we've been through in our history, from independence to civil war to 2 world wars to a pandemic to insurrection, I refuse to believe that in 2024 we Americans will choose to walk away from what's made us the greatest nation in the history of the world. Freedom, liberty, democracy is still a sacred cause, and there's no country in the world better positioned to lead the world than America. I understand power.
No, this guy is, we got a bad guy. He's a bad guy, actually. You know, they try and make him like, oh, he's not a nice person. I mean, he will go after his political opponent in a campaign, indict him 4 times. Today we got charged $370 million fine on a perfect loan. Nobody ever even heard of such a thing, using a statute that's disgraceful. These people are corrupt people, and they're bad people. They're actually very bad people, and we can't let them get away with it. We better win this damn election. I'll tell you, this country's finished. It's finished. It's gonna be okay, though, because I think we will. This was never in my plan, being indicted for it. I got indicted. I had a period I was being indicted so fast we didn't know where the hell they were coming from. If I flew over in my beautiful plane, I flew over a blue state. The next day I'd get served with a subpoena. But you know, the good thing is probably I'm 25 points higher than I would have been. I mean, we would have won easily anyway, but we're in record stratosphere because people get it. People get it. They've weaponized the Justice Department, and they're a disgrace to the whole world. They're a disgrace. The whole world is watching, and they get it. You think Joe Biden can tell you about it? He doesn't have a clue. The guy, he cannot, I'm telling you, I saw the other night, he couldn't find the stairs off the stage. He's looking. You ever notice he looks like this? He's finished with the speech, which usually lasts no longer than about 3 minutes, because, you know, the medical stuff wears off after 3 minutes. So he's looking around. And you know, the problem with doing that, I just told another group, we had a couple of meetings today, pretty nice ones in Iowa, but I just told the other group, the fake news is so crooked that when I do that, we're going to have a little fun. I do that. Then they say, Donald Trump was unable to find his way off the stage. It's true, Mike. They do that. They say he's unable to find, or when I mimic him talking, you know, not a good talker. He's not a good talker. So when I mimic him sometimes talking, they show me mimicking, and they say, Donald Trump was unable to get the words out today.
I'm going to go.